So tonight, the president is urging the nation's intelligence agencies to, quote, quickly and fully cooperate with the Attorney General's new probe into how the Trump-Russia investigation began.
I declassified everything they want. I put it under the auspices of the Attorney General. He's going to be in charge of it, and they'll be able to see how this the hoax or witch hunt started and why it started. It was an attempted coup or an attempted takedown of the President of the United States. It should never, ever happen to anybody else.
All right, so you remember this simple but important statement that opened all this up in earnest.
I think people have to find out what the government was doing during that period. If we're worried about foreign influence, for the very same reason, we should be worried about whether government officials abuse their power and put their thumb on the scale. And so I'm not saying that happened, but I'm saying that we have to look at that.
Aha. So that means that people on this wall in these pictures in the government are likely to face some more questions in all of this about what, as Attorney General Barr says, quote, the government was doing. Here now, Byron York, chief political correspondent for the Washington Examiner and a Fox News contributor. Byron, good to see you tonight. The president says he has declassified everything. We know it's going to come out in probably small pieces as this investigation moves on. But why should the people whose pictures we just showed, including Clapper and Brennan and everybody who signed those FISA applications, be concerned about this?
Well, because we don't know exactly what they did. We've been getting information lately in some dribs and drabs. For example, we learned that the government, probably the FBI, sent an undercover agent to London under the alias Azra Turk to get information out of George Papadopoulos. We've learned other things that the government was doing on a secret basis. We heard from Trey Gowdy the other day that there were probably transcripts of conversations with George Papadopoulos that Trey Gowdy says, are exculpatory. So we're learning in dribs and drabs something that we need to have a bigger picture on, and I think that's what the president and the Attorney General are trying to get at. So
it's pretty clear that there are some, mostly former employees of these intelligence agencies, who are going to be concerned about some of what might come out. And then today there was a New York Times story late today that suggested that there was this operative that, is close to Putin, whose cover cannot be blown, and that is one of the reasons to make sure that there is a lid on this, that sources and methods are not exposed in this declassification process, Byron.
Yeah, if you remember back when the so-called Nunes memo was released in February of 2018, and it showed us that the FBI had used the dossier to get a wiretap warrant on Carter Page. I mean, there were people before the release of that who predicted that basically the world was going to end. It was released, and it did not. If there are some things that are not released, that is the kind of judgment the Attorney General is going to make. I mean, for example, if you talk to top Republicans and say, on the Carter Page FISA warrant, should every single word of that be released? They'll say, no, there's a few things that need to stay secret, but most of it can be released. These are judgments that the Attorney General is going to make to give the public an idea of what happened.
I mean, as long as some of it is kept out, though, there will be those who will say, probably to their graves, that the other stuff that you didn't see was the reason that we started the investigation, not the dossier.
Yeah, well, we're seeing that now with the Mueller report. We have Democrats who say, well, the secret stuff is the really good stuff, and there's stuff in there that's bad about Trump, and they won't even go see some of it over at the Justice Department when it's been offered to them. So you're always going to have that problem. But in this, especially since it's a matter of such public concern, one party has wanted to use this Trump-Russia affair to try to remove the president from office. I mean, there is the highest need for public knowledge about this. So this is the president's way, by delegating it to the Attorney General, to try to do it in a fairly orderly but pretty fast fashion.
Just one quick last thought on Adam Schiff, who is very upset about this process. He says it's un-American to declassify the process towards these FISA applications, which ended up surveilling American citizens who were never charged.
Well, in some senses, the cat's out of the bag on this one. I mean, we know that Carter Page was wiretapped, and a number of people who've looked at all of this say that the FBI used unverified information to do so. And they did it to get a larger sense of information about the Trump campaign. By the way, the Carter Page FISA warrant mentioned George Papadopoulos. What was that about? So we need to find out more of what went on. And if there's any problem with the intelligence community, it's with overclassification of information. And this could help fix that.
Byron, thank you. Good to see you tonight.
Thank you, Martha.
Byron York.